Oh, my Hokage. I was so worried this day would never come. I really thought they were never gonna add a third Naruto to Shinobi Striker. But thankfully they ran out of characters to add. There's no one else in this universe, so they finally did it. They added the third Naruto. So my lovely bushes, Globku here with a review for Naruto Six Paths, or as he is officially called in game, Naruto Last Battle. We're gonna look at everything he brings you once you buy the DLC, but of course you can always try out the character for yourself before buying the DLC by just unlocking him in game. If you want to use his jutsu and unlockables though, you're gonna have to purchase him, and that's what this video is all about. As usual, I spent a bunch of time trying out the character and analyzing it on Twitch, so if you want to catch all of this analysis and testing live next time, give me a follow, the link is down below. But if you're not a fan of Twitch, or your time zone doesn't coincide and let you watch my streams, then I recommend my second channel, Globku Live, which has a bunch of highlights from my streams. Links for all of that down below. First, let's look at some of the cosmetics you unlock. There are no weapons this time around, but you still get some cool swagger, like the Ashura hairstyle with a customizable color for the headband, which I think is pretty cool. Naruto also brings you two full outfits, one of them being Ashura's robe, which is what everyone's gonna be using for the next couple of weeks, and I mean, who can blame them? And the other outfit is Naruto's from the final battle with the torn open jacket. They are both complete outfits, top and bottom. They can't be matched with other pieces. Wasn't expecting to see Ashura stuff come from Naruto, so that was a really nice surprise. Oh, they're gonna do Sasuke next with Indra stuff, aren't they? Sasuke is totally the last DLC character. Sasuke Last Battle. I wonder what his jutsu are. That's not today's topic. Today is all about Naruto, and he brings you also a new lobby action called the Looking Good pose, and I think he really highlights my dad body. But we're here for the jutsu, and before we even get to the saucy stuff, Naruto actually brings you a new unique substitution, the multi-shadow clone jutsu. You substitute out of an attack, leaving a clone behind that does absolutely nothing, but then launches 3 shadow clones straight at the opponent. Now, these clones look menacing, but they also don't really do anything. They just charge at your opponent and then vanish in a cloud of smoke. So I guess they add some chaos to the battlefield and impede your opponent's vision slightly and hopefully make them panic, but you can't even lock on to those shadow clones. So if you stay calm, it really isn't that big of a deal. This sub has the longest cooldown yet at 40 seconds. The fastest substitution in the game has a 20-second cooldown, and most of the other substitutions have a 30-second cooldown, so 40 seconds is definitely super long. But to make up for that, this is the first substitution that has 2 stocks. You have 2 charges of the substitution, so if you space them out, it could have a cooldown as low as 20 seconds. But you always have the option of using 2 subs in a row. So if at first this looks like a broken sub because you have 2 stocks, just know that if you use it recklessly, it's got the biggest cooldown time in the entire game. But let's finally move on to his jutsu. First up, the Truth Seeker Orbs. This jutsu surrounds the user, granting them invulnerability. Touching the orb damages enemies and knocks them back. And activating this jutsu again turns the barrier into orbs that will track an opponent, damaging them and resetting ninjutsu and ninja tools cooldown. There's a lot to unpack here. First, the invulnerability. It activates super fast, but not immediately, so you can be interrupted out of this jutsu. But the timing has to be insanely tight, and you'll probably never see this happen. If the activation does go through though, you're fully invulnerable to most jutsu in the game. You heard it right. Most jutsu, not all of them. We'll talk about specifics in a second. First, let's talk about how the ability works, and then we'll talk about how to counter it. So you're invulnerable, but that's not everything. You can also move around inside the orb, and if you touch any opponent, you'll damage them and knock them back. This ability would have been absolutely broken if a recent patch didn't make invulnerable abilities like Hiding in Ash or Subterranean Voyage unable to capture points or flags. And the same applies here. If you're inside the orb, you are not capturing or contesting any points. It's like you don't exist. But it's still excellent for crowd control in team battles and for getting scrolls as well. On top of that, this isn't just a simple attack. The orb will also guard break if your opponent is blocking. So if you see it coming, it's better to just get hit than to block and be guard broken and lose your substitution. Besides, during our testing, we've determined that hitting with the orb doesn't reset your ninjutsu or ninja tool cooldown. So really, you're just taking a bit of damage. If you let the jutsu time out, Naruto will just revert back to normal. Activating it again though gives you the orb projectiles, and the orbs have great tracking and also go through walls, making it really easy to connect with them. And if you hit an opponent with the orbs, that's when their ninjutsu and their tool cooldowns reset. They can still substitute, but they can't use their ninjutsu, so it's great for denying healing since it also affects tools. The one weakness is distance. After traveling for a bit, the orbs lose tracking, so this can't be used to snipe people from afar. Also, when launching the orb, orbs, you're not invulnerable, but you do have super armor. That is, you still take damage from other attacks, but those attacks will not interrupt you launching the orbs. Now, this all sounds very overpowered, but remember, you cannot capture points or flags while inside of this, and the cooldown is also not on the short side. So there are downsides, and of course there are counters as well. From our research, we gathered that they tried to go the cannon route, which is to say, to counter the orbs, you're gonna need Sage Chakra. But then we also found some inconsistencies which made this whole theory a bit weird. Let's talk about it. First, we have the ultimates. We were able to kill Naruto inside the sphere with adult Naruto's Kurama ultimate. Also, this version of Naruto, if it's a mirror match, that also kills Naruto inside the sphere. So far, so good. We have Sage modes deleting the sphere. Then we have Onoki's particle style, which I guess deletes both Naruto and the orb, so okay, acceptable. And with the same logic, Kamui also sends them both to a different dimension. So far, so good. But then, why doesn't Kamui Shuriken work? The same principle should apply, right? Shuriken hit the barrier and suck it into a different dimension, but nope, no effect. Also, mind transfer works. Apparently, minds can penetrate the sphere, but you know what cannot penetrate the sphere? Mitsuki's Sage mode. It just didn't work. And what's more Sage than an actual frog falling on top of your head, but also no effect. Adult Sasuke Susanoo, Reaper Death Seal, Massive Rasengan, nothing worked. You guys remember when Guy opened his 8 gates and destroyed Madara inside one of those spheres? Yeah, no effect. So even ultimates are gonna have a tough time countering this, and since we can find a bulletproof logic to what counters what, I think you're gonna need a spreadsheet to figure this one out. The good news is you don't have to rely on ultimates to counter it. There are actually a few jutsu that can counter it as well. Remember mind transfer working? Yeah, the jutsu also works. Again, I don't know why minds can travel through to the sphere, but apparently they can. Also, Rasen Shuriken, because it is a Sage mode jutsu. Naruto was only able to throw it after acquiring Sage mode, so that completely destroys the orbs. And also Onyx Chidori, because Curse Seal Sasuke is pretty much Sasuke with Sage Chakra, so his Chidori imbued with Sage energy destroys the orb. There might be others, but we tested a bunch and we really couldn't find anything else. Hashirama's Wood style jutsu were helpless, even though his ultimate also destroys the orb. Adult Naruto cannot damage the orb at all. Pain and adult Sasuke can't do anything with their Rinnegan abilities. Pretty much nothing worked except Mind Transfer, Rasen Shuriken, and Onyx Chidori. Those are your counters for this jutsu. Now, the jutsu itself, the sphere, can't really be used as a counter to other defensive abilities. Like, it doesn't work on Water Pillar or Kamui or anything like that. Kinda doesn't work against Sense Shield, and by that I mean you cannot destroy a Sense Shield by moving the orb into the shield. But if the Gaara user walks into you with a shield, they will basically commit suicide. Which means they can't pop a shield and push you out of a point, but you also cannot destroy their Sense Shield with this. That was a lot to unpack, but I think we're ready to move on to the next jutsu. The Six Paths Chakra Rebirth. Healing jutsu that heals everyone in an area and gives them a defense buff. It looks similar to Cellular Extraction, but it has a bigger cooldown, and also it does not remove debuffs. Also, I kind of feel like the range is a lot shorter, but it does have its advantages. Using it blows enemies back immediately, so it's harder to interrupt your healing. And this also revives downed allies, making it the first jutsu that's not an ultimate that's able to revive people. The range on the revive is super short though. If you need a visual guide, you have to approach the body icon of a teammate, and it's when you see that yellow line pop around the icon that you know that your revival is gonna work. As you can see, it's a pretty close range activation, even though the heal itself has good range. In the middle of battle, this little yellow line can be hard to spot though, so you're gonna have to learn this range without needing that visual cue. This ability activates almost instantly, and sometimes I just mash it while getting hit because I'm able to interrupt fake combos, immediately heal, and knock back opponents if that's happening. Because the activation is so fast, that also means that you can combo into this jutsu, and because of its blowback effect, it can actually wall splat the opponent, so you could go for some really saucy situational combos. Unfortunately, this pushback is also not good enough to destroy Sense Shields or Water Pillars, so Naruto is more of a character that people are gonna try to counter rather than being someone that counters other defensive playstyles. Finally, let's talk about his ultimate, and in my opinion, this ultimate has made every other ultimate in this game insignificant. You summon the QB and shoot 2 massive Rasen Shuriken at your enemies that have really good tracking and deal a ton of damage. It's a one-shot jutsu. In addition to this, the jutsu will revive all downed allies across the entire stage. In addition to this, it will refresh everyone's ninjutsu. And in addition to this, heal everyone for a period of time. And from my experience, it's not a fast ultimate to charge, but it's also not the slowest, especially since heal types can build ultimate pretty easily. To recap, this jutsu deals a ton of damage, it's easy to connect with it, revives allies, refreshes ninjutsu, and heals everyone. This thing will take you out to dinner, drive you back home, and do your taxes for you. It does everything. And I sure as hell expect to see a nerf sometime in the future, because right now, I just don't see a reason to pick anything else. This is too good. In conclusion, I think it's kind of a bummer that we're getting another Naruto. We definitely didn't need 3 of them, but I think this is undeniably a good DLC when it comes to the jutsu. I don't think either of his base jutsu are broken or unbalanced, but they do bring heal types a new playstyle, a new way to play a combat healer role with abilities that allow you to stay in the fight rather than trying to hide or heal the team from a distance. What's absolutely broken though is his ultimate jutsu. That thing does way too much. It's way too good. That's really the only thing that I think is a bit broken right now, but that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. If you've tried out the character, let me know in the comments what you thought of him, and don't forget about those links down below. Follow me on Twitch for live streams and subscribe to Globku Live for the highlights. And as always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Globku and I'll see you next time. Bye.